Welcome to Truth, Money, and Freedom. Today is Sunday, May 12th, 2019. And once again, happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. I've got an interesting story here I'd like to cover, and also I have with me today American Man, 1967, and I have Conjecture. And we're going to talk about this story right here. The left unveils a new plan to allow cancellation of student loans in bankruptcy. Now, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because we're talking about a bill that is talking about eliminating $640 billion of student debt. And the reason I bring that up is because that's nearly as large as QE1, or the first bank bailout bill, was. That's how large this is. And there's a lot more to it. And so to analyze all of this for you, we have Conjecture and American Man. Hey guys, welcome to the podcast tonight.
Hey, what's up?
Doing good. And Conjecture's with us as well. Okay.
Yes, greetings.
Yep. So basically, I've already said, basically $640 billion worth of debt, which they intend to allow through a system or mechanism of bankruptcy. And we all know what happens with bankruptcy. The banks then take the debt and they use it as a write down or a write off. And that transfers the debt right to the American taxpayer because they're not paying taxes. So the American
Do
tax.
you mind if I interject?
Sure.
The one she proposed went a little further than that. She wants to immediately eliminate up to $50,000 in student loan debt for anyone that makes less than $100,000 a year. And then she has more conditions if you make.
Yep, I understand that one as well. And this is not the first time the Democrats have proposed such a bill, but it is a juggernaut bill. How often do we have bills that are $640 billion in a single bill? It's pretty rare. But it's here, and it's Elizabeth Warren's plan, by the way. So the reimbursement is something that they're also talking about too. Let me read a little bit more from this article before we continue commenting on it. Well, okay, so basically we're talking about 640 billion of debt that was applauded by millions of students who see no other way out from under their burden, while pretty much everyone else was left wondering where their next handout would come from, or whether the government would reimburse them for loans that they've already paid off. So, all right, guys, let's go ahead and drill down on this one. We're talking about nothing more than literally just taking that student debt, taking it out of the students' hands, and then throwing it to the general taxpayers. Is that the way you guys see it?
Yeah. Personally, myself, I look at this from a slightly different perspective than you guys do, and that is this. Look at what happened when last time the government bailed people out. First of all, why is the government responsible or obligated to bail anybody out? Second, look what happened when all these different American automotive companies got bailed out by the government. Look at how that impacted our national debt. Look at what happened to, our economy.
Yep, that's a good point. And also, too, it begs the question, because Elizabeth Warren's plan would also include basically free tuition for the first 2 years for anyone going to college. That, of course, would go right to the taxpayers. That's very similar to the systems they have in Europe right now.
2
Taxes,
to 4.
2 to 4 years. Okay, thank you for the correction.
They even have more. Even under those European overburdening welfare states. For instance, in Germany, and I think it's a bit of the Nordic nations, they will not pay for a degree outside of engineering and so forth, as where here we have a lot of people graduating with gender studies, and all those degrees would not be allowed or would not be paid for by the government in Germany and a bit of Nordic countries, from what I understand. So even they know where to draw the line.
Yep.
Right.
Well,
They only pay for things that actually add value to the economy.
exactly.
And
This is this Conjecture. Thank you for bringing that point up, because it shows you what happens in all the trash courses colleges start providing when they can get cheap money to go to school or free money to go to school, and they end up with useless degrees that have absolutely no use in modern day society or culture. And there's a lot of degrees out there like that. Would you agree?
Yeah, we have degrees in. I just saw one the other day. They have a degree in social justice.
So and
They
then
have a degree.
gender studies, all kinds of weird degrees, that are useless, just useless. I'm going to say
I
one
have
more.
another one.
Go ahead.
There's another popular one out there. It's called environmental studies, and you might think that is, a really good degree or whatever. But the problem is there are so many people graduating with it because it's something that they eventually kind of get roped into. But there's just not a lot of jobs out there for it because they're overfunding that. Too many people have it.
Yep, understood. Well, I brought up this thing here from Elizabeth Warren, of course. She's calling for something truly transformational, conjecture in American Man. It's universal, free, let me highlight free, public college and cancellation of student loan debt. Because we know that when the government says something is free, they're just going to get it for the taxpayers.
Right.
So, another thing that, the government says, the word they use free, they really need to be very careful when they use that because people like us pick on it pretty quick, I think.
Right.
So, but at any rate, conjecture is correct. The plan would eliminate up to $50,000 in student loan debt for anyone with under $100,000 in annual household income. So we're talking about literally this is very disturbing. We're talking about almost a $700 billion bill being proposed that would literally take $640 billion worth of student debt and literally transfer that debt directly to the taxpayers and add to the national debt. That's what they're talking about doing.
She also called, and this is from the article, for an ultra-millionaire tax, in which anyone that made over this certain amount of money would receive a 2%. Anyone that made more, like over $1 billion, would pay 1%. However, the issue is, and I just posted a chart. I have to go find the other one. No matter how high you push the top marginal rate, they can still only capture. They can't capture much more than I think it was 22% of the economy, according to this graph. 22%.
Yep, and they will try. It will definitely try to reach that mark. Yep. So basically, once again, this is Democrats showing their socialist stripes, is what it is.
Right.
This should not be allowed. And by the way, students, I've got a message for all the college students in the United States. If you want tuition to come down, all of you need to take a 6-month break from college. All of you. And the prices will come down, I promise you. It's a really easy system to get the price of education down. Really easy. But everyone has to do it. If y'all took a 6-month break, they would have to bring the price of tuition down just to survive. So that's my message on this. There are other ways to actually get them to bring down the price of education rather than let them bring it up totally unbridled like they do with medicine, hospitals, and just keep on dishing out free or very cheap money from the government, get free government loans or cheap government loans, and that will drive up the price of tuition. It always has and it always will. And conjecture, what we talk about inflation quite a bit here on this channel, as you know. And have we ever figured out what the cost of tuition is? Because I think that one's higher than 10%. It might be as much as 12 or 15% per year. Do you have any numbers on that?
I don't currently have any numbers.
Okay.
I used to have a graph for this, but I can't find it.
Gotcha.
However, there is a few things you can do to get out of such things. I would refer to Adam Conover. He is a progressive guy. However, he put out some rather good advice on this. One of which was you might want to consider looking into trade schools. At least consider it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking into trade schools, technical colleges, community colleges. Anything that you can get as much of your education as possible at a much cheaper price.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you need that 4-year degree, just make sure the credits are transferable. and then you can get most of it done in a much cheaper institution and rack up as little debt as possible.
Yep, that's good advice as well. That's, I think that's very wise advice, actually, getting a whole bunch of your credits out of the way at a cheap community college before you go off to a much more expensive school, where you're going to pay literally 3, 4, 5, 6 times as much for the same credit. So, like I said, that's excellent advice. American Man, do you have anything else you'd like to add to this?
Uh, yeah, it's just the socialist Democrats doing what they do best. I mean, here's the thing. Look at what happened with Obamacare. Okay. They're taxing the middle class to death. The prices have gone way up. So people who couldn't afford medical insurance can now get medical insurance. And so now they're going to be paying all this money and pay off other people's college or school loans because they can't afford to pay it. And then people that can't afford to pay for colleges, tuitions and books are going to go up even more. This is just my opinion. But this is what I'm going to assume is going to happen. And anytime the government gets their hands on anything, we all know from experience, they screw everything up. So, I mean, and then last but not least, how's this going to affect the economy for the next 10, 12 years?
Yep, that's a point well taken too. And I suggest to you once again, this is yet another just a scheme from the Democrats to literally raise taxes. That's all this comes down to.
Sure.
You know, that's, I mean, it's a bait and switch. I love how they use the word free on this. I just love it.
Right.
It's, nothing could be further from the truth. There's no such thing as free tuition. But
Right.
they do use, Elizabeth Warren actually uses the word free. Universal free college and the cancellation of debt for more than
Right.
95% of Americans was student loan debt. Read all about it here. And I've clicked on that. That's a Twitter thing. Of course, we'll link these two articles down below so you guys could take a closer look at this. I, honest to God, don't see this passing. So I'm not going to say everyone needs to make phone calls to their representatives or their senators on this. I just don't see this passing.
I do have,
Go
I
ahead,
just found
Conjecture.
this chart, and it shows the top 1%, as of, it looks like 2010, are paying just under 30%. But the most they have ever paid on this chart goes back to about 1979. And it shows around 1995-ish that the most that they have ever paid in the top one, it appears to be just over 35%. And I just want to comment that what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to eat the rich. The rich have a way of getting things passed, so that they can get more tax deductions. There's no way you're going to get it out of them.
Yep.
For instance, the way the tax system is in Sweden, at least they're a little more honest about it. In the bottom, I think it's something like a 60% tax in the bottom tax bracket, and their top tax bracket's about 40%. They're quite honest about the rich are going to find a way out.
Sure.
Yep, they sure will.
It's going to be the middle class and everyone else that has to pay the true cost of it.
Yep, it's always the middle
Exactly.
class that ends up bearing these burdens when they come up with new programs. And they use the word free, but taxes do go up. The debt will go up at a faster clip than it did before, because now they're providing quote unquote free college to youngsters and paying off the debt of everyone who's already gone to school. You see, here's the problem, guys. Here's the inherent problem I see here. If the government offers a program like this, we're going to have a lot of people graduating with absolutely useless degrees, and I think that problem will get worse under this program. We already have that problem actually coming into view right now. Gender studies. I'm at a degree in gender studies. Where the heck do you go? And the only thing I could think of, literally, is HR, human resources, and that's it. So that the corporation can better understand the 79 different genders or whatever in Canada. Or I mean, guys,
Actually,
I'm trying to be creative
that's a
in my
use.
thinking. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, that's a use case I didn't think of. But HR might actually make sense for gender studies.
Yep, and
Yeah.
I think that's it, guys. Unless you could think of another use for that degree.
Now that'd
And
be it.
I know that a lot of places that hire HR people, they try to go after anyone that has like a associate's in psychology or something. However, I didn't consider that. We might have to look into this.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what. If they're offering free college, then we all need to go in for gender studies to become HR in Canada.
Yes.
Because that's the only thing you can do with that degree. We used to joke when I was younger about underwater basket weaving degrees, in college. You know, but okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I think we've pretty much covered this one here, unless one of you two can think of something that wasn't covered properly or needs more coverage.
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Well, gang, like always, I'll link the two stories down below. And also, too, you may have missed out on this podcast, but you haven't missed out on the conversation. We are Truth, Money, and Freedom, and we're on Discord. We have a server. There is a link down below in the description section if you want to come in and talk to Conjecture, American Man, or even, scraping the bottom of the barrel, Timmy Chonga. But we're all there. We're not there all the time, but we're there a lot of the time. So if you wanted to come in and actually chat with us live, you could do that. Thank you once again for spending a few minutes with Truth, Money, and Freedom. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. It's almost over. And once again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Signing out for now. God bless you all.